Good evening, race fans. Welcome to CXRL. It is a beautiful morning today, and a beautiful morning to go NASCAR racing. This is the first race of our CXRL NASCAR Championship Series. This championship series will be a month long with 5 races, including 3 ovals and 2 road courses. We have about 9 racers signed up for this championship series, so things are going to get interesting. Our first race is going to be at Daytona, doing 65 laps. This first race has a randomized grid, so our first race can be anyone's race, depending on start position. There will be at least 2 pit stops required to be made during the race. Well, I mean, you can't finish without doing 2 pit stops. We'll see a lot of probably drafting and different types of strategies with pits in this race. But first of all, we're going to go over the racers who are participating tonight. We have a lot of racers who are signed up, but only a few could attend tonight. But even if we have lower numbers, we're still going to race. As long as we have 4 members, we still have a race in our books. So the 5 racers that will be lining up on the grid tonight or this morning will be GameStopper in the 2017 Chevy Super Sport, the number 3 car. Ping 64, the 2017 Toyota, car number 67. Coinsey in the 2017 Toyota, number 18. And code 066. We don't actually have his car in the signups yet, but his car is number 66. Alright, so we should get on with this. Alright. As we see, we have our 4 POVs from our drivers, and we're starting off with our formation lap. The grid positions at the beginning seem to be GameStopper is in first. Second is Code, who didn't get off the line. He seems to be coming back to his position. Yeah, there we go. Code is back in his position. Third, starting out, is Bagel. Fourth is Pings. And fifth is Coinsey. Now, a lot of this first lap might be chaotic, depending on how they all get off the line. We have a lot of possibilities with GameStopper being in the front. A lot of outcomes can come from this race. So once they hit this bank turn coming up, they are going to slowly deaccelerate to 90 miles an hour for the formation start. This is anybody's race. A lot of them have been practicing a lot. We do have some differences in controller inputs, though. We have some people who are on wheels and some people using controllers, so this might give a disadvantage or advantage. We're coming up to the line. We're about to go green. Everybody's getting packed up. Coin and Pings look to be a little bit detached, heading up to the line. And we are green. The race has begun. GameStopper, Code, and Bagel are taking off from the back of the pack. Coinsey's got a much better launch than Pings and gets past the M&M car. GameStopper, Code, and Bagel are forming a draft train, while Coin and Pings seem to be forming their own little group behind them. Coin is just out of the draft and won't be able to catch up. Bagel is making up some speed on Code, and GameStopper is pulling away. That group of 3 cars in the front is significantly faster and pulling away because of that draft train. Code is seeming to put some pressure on GameStopper, and Pings and Coin are having a pretty slow race to start out. They're losing the pack significantly, so they're going to have to stick together. Bagel is slowly losing the draft from the cars in front. You can see GameStopper is having a great time in front. He got a really good launch, and he's starting to hold his lead pretty well here. Pings behind Coin. He's trying to get a draft into one of these corners. And I think the best thing that they can do is probably just stick together and draft for a lot of these laps. Oh, Coin goes wide and opens the door. Pings is just getting past. Is he going to make it? He makes the pass. Pings moves up to 4th and Coin slots right in behind Pings. Yeah, interesting why Coin gave that door open, we don't know. There's some battling in the front of the pack. Some moves being made. A lot of people are moving around, trying to see what they can get. Coin nearly lost the draft from Pings, but is still in it. Pings and Coin losing the pack up front. There's a 3 draft train up front with GameStopper, Code, and Bagel not changing any positions. Code is weaving a bit, looking like he's trying to get past GameStopper. Bagel is coming out to the side a little bit. No moves are being made. Coin does seem to be making some time up on Pings every lap, just slightly pulling out and inching up into the corners. But that bump draft is benefiting Pings significantly. We're on board with Bagel. This 3-car draft train is probably going to take them to the end. Bagel's not getting the benefits from the bump draft that Code and GameStopper are getting. So they might end up pulling away from the pack. Pings and Coin seem to be battling it out, but it has calmed down, and I think we're probably going to see these positions last us a while, unless something happens. Bagel's putting it on the apron a little bit, loses a bit of speed there. Nothing significant, though. And that 3-car draft train is just pulling away. I think the only way Pings and Coin can manage to catch up is if they either catch a draft of a car who falls off that train or pits. Really gets a really good pit. Or they can somehow catch up. Code is putting a lot of pressure on GameStopper. Cannot imagine that that is fun seeing that car in that rearview mirror. So far, not too many changes for positions. Bagel seems to be losing the draft, actually. No, he's good. He's still in it, but he's falling behind while Code and GameStopper are accelerating significantly faster. He's not really getting a benefit from the draft here. And Coin seems to be sending it on Pings. Here we go, he's on the inside. Pings is going wide, and Pings nearly shuts the door, gives him room. Doesn't make the move. That was really dangerous right there. Pings moved across Coin. Could have caused a collision, but luckily everybody's still in one piece. I think Coin let out of it trying to not slam into Pings, which gave up the position. That was close. Coin is making a lot of time up in that straightaway. Looking to move on, but doesn't seem to be able to. Bagel is losing the draft train. Code and GameStopper seem to be pulling away, and he's not catching. Seems that the bump draft is not... Whoa, okay, we're having some game glitches. I guess Code is now behind Bagel. Didn't see that coming. Now the fierce battle between Coin and Pings is going off right now. Coin is looking to make a move, but doesn't seem to be able to catch up properly. What she seems to be doing is pulling out to get rid of the benefit of the bump draft, or Pings, and she's able to hold a lot more speed through the straightaways. But is it enough? The real question. She's making up a lot of time on Pings right now, but... Okay, they're getting close. This is really close. Is he going to send it up on the inside? Pings leaves the door open, shuts it. That was close. Bagel is now on GameStopper's tail after Code swapped positions out of thin air, it seems. Bagel is pushing for that position. What we're probably going to see is these positions change a little bit back and forth during this race, but ultimately we'll probably see the same two groups. Code seems to be dropping behind though because he's not getting the benefit from the bump draft. Bagel is hitting that apron a lot. Still holding on. Coin is backing off from Pings a little bit. Off some bad lines. GameStopper is racing really defensively. Nobody seems to be able to I said that twice. Nobody seems to be able to make a move on anyone right now from the gaps we have. I mean, that's mostly NASCAR, is that we will have these draft trains for a lot of laps, and then some moves will be made towards the end of the race. And granted, we still have pit stops, and we have no clue what the strategies are. Coin seems to be looking to make a move on Pings. It doesn't seem to have enough pace to pass at all. He's putting pressure on him, but doesn't seem like it's doing much. Bagel is touching that apron again, losing a little bit of speed each time they do that. Coin also did that. Coin's taking some drastic lines to try and get past Pings. It feels like the draft is making them go a lot faster than they're used to. They're taking really weird lines. Looks like he might be looking for a move here. Is he gonna get the inside? Pings leaves the door open. Oh, and shuts it just in time. That was close. And opens the door! Coin gets by! No, they're side by side. This is really close. They are just right on each other coming into turn 3. Or 2. I don't know with Daytona. The bank turn, and Coin secures the position, but Pings is right on her tail. Coin goes a little bit to the right. Pings doesn't seem to have the speed, but Coin is on the outside and is pushed to take a wider line. Pings is so close right now. Pings is overtaking, just barely. And Coin loses the position. What a battle for that position right there. Well, Coin's going to have to get that draft again to try and catch up. Hell, we're having this much battling and it's only lap 14. We have a lot to go. We'll probably expect to see drivers start pitting around lap 20 to lap 25, which is when the tires and fuel will start to become a little bit dry. Well, not the tires will just wear out. GameStopper, Bagel, and Code are still holding their draft. Oh, I didn't even notice. Code has dropped off from the draft completely. So this is a possibility that Pings and Coin will catch up to Code and start a 3-car draft train. Completely missed that. So that means GameStopper and Bagel are alone in the front of the pack. That is really good for them. Coin was looking to make a move. Pings is just barely leaving any room to do it. And opens the door, and Coin gets past. Coin is not getting past yet. Holds the inside line. They are neck and neck. Side by side. And Coin may solidify the position on the inside and takes it. They are so close right now. And he does a switchback. Pings gets a switchback on Coin. Coin hits the wall, loses a significant amount of speed, and is losing the draft. Pings is outrunning Coin, and Coin is left alone. Pings is Coin in the draft or not? It does not look like she is. Pings is starting to run away. This is bad. This is really bad for both drivers because they're both losing their drafts. So we have 3 drivers now without any drafting partners. Code in 3rd, Pings in fourth, yes. And Coin in fifth. They're all alone while the leaders, GameStopper and Bagel, are taking off with this race. They're running away with it. This is a pretty fantastic view from both these drivers here. They got really good starts and just started pulling away with Code. And Code sadly dropped off of the draft. We'll see what's able to happen here. Pings is slowly pulling away from Coin. Really, if they're going to make up time on each other, or anything, if they want to catch up to Code, they're going to have to either have super good pace or get a draft from each other. GameStopper and Bagel are running away with this race. Granted, anything can happen and we can still have a pit. Well, positions can change from pits. Who knows? Tires on GameStopper seem to be going, but the tires will not make much of a difference on Daytona. We're on board with Coin, who's losing pace and distance fast. Lap 19. Everybody's tires and fuel is very similar on this track, especially because of how similar the lines are. Bagel and GameStop are not really going aggressive. They seem to be working together to get as far away from everyone else as possible. Oh, but Bagel seems to be on the inside here. Takes a little bit of tighter line. Nearly gets it, but just doesn't have enough speed. Now this is going to be the race that we're going to be watching. It's between Bagel and... Oh, Coin is already pitted. Really early pits from Coin. Maybe they're trying to do an undercut strategy. But I don't think that's going to work. They've lost their drafting partner, and Pings is catching up to Code. Pings is making up a lot of time on Code, which is actually very good for both of them. They can regain a lot of pace here. With the pits coming up, if they gain enough traction and time, they could possibly catch up to the leaders. Whoa, very scary pit exit there for Coin. The leaders passing by at over 200 miles an hour. Pings is in the draft for Code. This is actually really good for both drivers because Pings will now begin to bump draft Code, boosting their speeds. Now, drivers still have to pit. We're around 21 laps. So that means GameStopper, Bagel, Code, and Pings still have to pit for fuel and tires. And Code swings into the pits, leaving Pings without a draft. Fuel is looking a little bit low for the leaders, and they're probably going to go into the pits at the same time. Don't really understand the strategy behind Code diving into the pits like that. But you know what? We'll go with it. Bagel and GameStop are still having a great race. They go into the pits. They're pitting together. Ooh, Bagel is over the track limit significantly. There. Stewards will have a look at that. You're supposed to go in on the right side of that line, white line to the left. Pings also dives into the pits. The only person on track right now is Code and Coin. We're going to see how well of a launch out of the pits they can get. And GameStopper takes off and leaves Bagel behind. Pings is completely out of that draft and will not get any benefit from that. And Coin did gain some time on the leaders, but not enough for that undercut strategy to even be worth it. Now, she's going to have to deal with more fuel consumption. Code gets by Pings really, really quickly. Really had the draft on him for a while there. And now I think Pings is still barely in that draft. We could possibly see that Code and Pings become draft buddies again. While GameStopper and Bagel have pulled away from each other significantly. This is a good and bad thing. Meaning for GameStopper, you're gonna actually start to pull away from the rest of the group. But this also means that if a good draft train gets together, they can definitely catch up to him. Still anybody's race, lap 24 out of 65. Pings is catching the draft on Code, slowly but surely. You can probably see this becoming a group. A drafting duo. GameStopper is pulling ahead of Bagel. Slowly but surely. This is a really interesting strategy here, because either GameStopper could slow down to let Bagel draft, or GameStopper could just let him leave. Well, let himself go and just gap him. Then you have the issue is that this group here, Code and Pings, are going to catch up really quick, because they're hitting significantly higher speeds in the straightaways than anyone is right now, because they're the only two drafting. They're slowly going to cut time down on the leaders. Point is not having a lucky race tonight. After hitting that wall, she's been left without a draft for a lot of laps now, and doesn't look like she's going to be making up any positions unless a crash happens. Code and Pings drafting really quick, hitting 206 in the back straightaway, holding a solid 203 miles an hour through the corners. They're going to make up time fast. They're about 10 seconds behind the leaders, so we'll see what happens there. Some excellent driving from these two. Code and Pings working together here. This is still anybody's race. GameStopper does seem to be pulling away even more. Bagel is struggling to keep up. Just look at the speeds the drafting has. So we have Code and Pings hitting 202, 204 in the corners and holding it nearly there, only dipping down to 202. While we have Bagel, who's not able to draft, who's only holding 200, and that's a really smooth corner, dripping down to 199. Point is not even close to those speeds. GameStopper hitting 203 in the straights, while this drafting partner are hitting 206 easily at the front straight. Lap 28. Pings and Code are still drafting. They're making up time really quickly, which is a problem for the leaders right now. GameStopper and Bagel are either going to have to make a decision to team up and draft until the end, or just let third and fourth position drivers, Code and Pings, catch up. There's also a thing for fastest lap. You do get a bonus point in the championship and Constructors' Championship if you get a fastest lap or a race. So there's still something in it for Coin, who may not have the positions. Granted, finishing last in a smaller grid race in this league is actually a lot more beneficial than you think. Because if you finish last in a full race, you lose a lot more points than finishing last in a smaller group race. Keep an eye on pings and code. They're driving incredibly smooth, and they've made up a second on the lead car. Only 9 seconds, 9.2 seconds is between Pings and GameStopper, and they're making it up every corner, every straightaway. This is not a good situation for GameStopper or Bagel. See, what could happen is that Code and Bagel and Pings all meet up together and they have a 3-car draft train and take out the leader. Which could happen. Anything could happen at this point in the race. We're on lap 31 out of 65. We still have a lot of racing to go. If you are interested in participating in our league races and possibly becoming one of these points of views, or just racing with us in general, hit the description below. We will have a link to our Discord, our Twitter, and our Twitch, where you can join the league races and hang out with us. So again, the links to our social medias and our Discord server are in the links in the description. Just follow the instructions when you join the server and you will be able to sign up. Alrighty, looking back at Pings' POV, they've made up another second on GameStopper. Every 2 laps they make up roughly a second, which is detrimental for GameStopper's possible win here. He's holding his lines really well, same with Bagel. Everybody's really solid here. Yeah, Pings and Code are definitely working together, because you don't see them working too aggressive. Pings is just staying behind, allowing them to both benefit from the bump draft. .9 seconds behind GameStopper there. Lap 33 out of 65. Not much action. We're going to see some action coming up though, as in roughly 8 to 10 laps we will start seeing people dive into the pits for fuel and tires. Coin will have to pit early because her tires and fuel will be lower because she decided to pit really early for that undercut strategy that really didn't work, sadly. Ooh, she's just barely scraping the wall there. Scraping the wall in these cars slows you down a lot more than you think. Bagel is somehow keeping up with GameStopper. It seems like GameStopper's lead has closed a little bit with Bagel, but it's been pretty consistent this entire race. Pings is now 7 seconds away from GameStopper. Code and Pings are working together really well here. This is going to be really interesting. We still have a lot of race left, and there's a lot of time to be made up by these drivers. But the way they're making them up, this time up, is really good. They can see the leaders on the map. GameStopper and Bagel are probably thinking, "Ah, crap, this is bad." They're catching up. A second every 2 laps or 3 laps. At that rate, they're going to get passed way before the end of the race, unless they can drive really defensively. One thing to note is that there's still a pit stop remaining. All drivers will have to pit before the end of this race to even be able to finish. So we'll see what's able to happen here. Poor Coinsy all the way in the back. Oh, it's a rough life. Scratched that wall and lost the draft, and that's race over. Code and Pings have made roughly 4 seconds up, and they are now 6 seconds away from catching the leaders. Yeah, you can see Bagel looking behind. He's scared. You can tell he's worried about how quickly they're catching up. They're only 4 seconds within Bagel. And they're gaining fast. Every lap they're gaining. And unless GameStopper and Bagel start drafting soon, it's going to continue to be that way. GameStopper is way, way ahead of the pack. Just chilling in his position. They're now within 5 seconds of the lead car. This is going to get tense. We have a round of pits coming up. What I can suspect is going to happen is that Pings and Code are probably going to pit with GameStopper and Bagel. But when GameStopper and Bagel pit is going to be a mystery to us. Seems like GameStopper is slowing down a little bit. GameStopper definitely slowed a bit, and Bagel is starting to get into their draft. Yep, there they go. GameStopper and Bagel are now drafting. That's going to put Code and Pings in a rough spot. Bagel's going to the inside over the yellow line. Interesting move there. I don't know what he was doing. He may have just lost his car. Or he's losing the draft pretty drastically there. It looked like he tried to pass after GameStopper slowed up to let him draft. Code and Ping still making up a great amount of time. Coin still in the back. Bagel is being really aggressive. He seems to be looking for a pass. Coin is going into the pits at lap 40. Is she going to get lapped here? Most likely. GameStopper and Bagel just trying to hold on to their lead here as Pings and Code are catching. They're within 3 seconds now. And they're within 2 seconds of Bagel. Coin's being released by the pits, lapped now. Lead cars on lap 41. It looks like their fuel is starting to diminish. You see GameStopper here, his tires and fuel are starting to struggle. Same with Bagels and Pings. They're probably all going to go for a stop at the same time. Let's watch for the dive into the pits here. It's happening any number of these laps now. Because if they don't get the pits right, then either one of them is going to lose. Now, Bagel keeps surpassing the apron there. He's not gaining any time by it, so it's probably not going to get investigated by the stewards. But he is extending track limits a lot. You need to stay to the right of that apron. We have 2 draft trains going on. The positions have been static for a while now. GameStopper first, second is Bagel, third is Code, fourth is Pings, and in fifth is Coin. Solid racing here from all the drivers. It's probably very frustrating for Code and Pings, who can see the lead cars right now, but can't make up much time because they are both drafting. And fuel gauges are going yellow. Probably expect to see a pit soon here. Wait and see. Nope, GameStopper's passing the pits, and so is Code and Pings and Bagel. Going another lap out. Let's see how far they can push their fuel. What this is really allowing, though, is allowing the group in the back to catch up as much as possible before they pit. And you want as big as a gap as possible between the people behind you when you pit, to not allow you to lose positions or time. Unless they pit with you, but still. You want as much as distance between you and other people when you pit. Coming around to the pit entrance, let's see if they go for it. They're pitting GameStopper and Bagel. Code dives into the pits. Pings just barely misses the pits. Goodness gracious, nearly swings and hits that wall. There's a mess in the pit lane while all four of the drivers are going in. And Coin unlaps herself. Round of applause for Coin unlapping. There's a lot of exit on the pit exit. All four of the drivers are getting out in their... Alright, positions are back. First is GameStopper, second is Bagel, third, I believe, is Code. It's kind of hard to see here, yes, and fourth is Pings. There's a lot of distance between the drivers right now. Nobody has draft, and the first drivers who are going to get the draft from each other are going to take off. Coin is going to have a really close race on fuel here from that really early pit strategy. Pings and Code are drafting. They are going really quick. Pings is looking on the inside. Code is wide. Doesn't make the move. Their best bet is probably to just draft each other and catch up to the leaders. This is a really close race. Anything can still happen. We have a lot of laps left and a lot of pace in these drivers. The different strategies we're seeing here is really fascinating. Code and Pings are back with their drafting buddies. I have a hunch that Code and Pings might be drafting buddies for much of the upcoming championship. We'll see drivers who are going to start working together to get ahead or help each other get points in this championship for a race. Like, it's more of I pat you on the back, you pat me on the back kind of system than in NASCAR. GameStopper is pulling ahead of Bagel pretty quickly, while Code and Pings are catching really fast. So either what's going to happen here is Bagel's going to be able to defend from Code and Pings and join their draft train, or they're going to shoot past him and we're never going to see Bagel again. GameStopper's having a phenomenal race from being in the lead for almost the entire race so far. I don't think he's actually dropped out of first place except for in the pit lane. Bagel has held second for a majority of this race. And third and fourth have been claimed by Code and Pings. Not many position changes, but a lot of position changes that could happen in the foreseeable future. GameStopper is under 3 seconds ahead of these draft buddies, Code and Pings. They're catching up really quick. Bagel is within a second, which means they're going to start picking up on his draft, and that means they're only going to get faster and faster, which is really bad for Bagel, actually. Look at them, they're catching up ridiculously quick. GameStopper is still ahead, but they are catching up. Here comes the draft train of Code and Pings and Bagel. Yep, they're holding on to his draft now, and they're getting really quick. Pings is starting to drop off the draft a little bit, it seems. Code is looking to pass Bagel or get a new draft buddy as Pings is slowly dropping back. And Code is on the bumper of Bagel. Pings is dropping back. I think he's out of the draft. Still in it, but seems to be losing it very quickly. Now the new drafting buddy partner seems to be Code and Bagel. And Pings is kind of left behind. That sucks. Maybe their teamwork will repay in a later race when Code will boost Pings to be in front, but Pings is slowly losing pace each lap. And same with GameStopper. GameStopper's lead is diminishing lap by lap. He's not going to be able to hold his position for much longer. They're nearly within a second, which means they're going to start catching his draft soon. Code doesn't seem to be racing too aggressive on Bagel here, and Pings is dropping fast. Same thing that happened to Coin is happening to Pings. It's just, as soon as you lose that draft, you're nothing. And look how much time they're making up on GameStopper from the lead. GameStopper is probably one of the smoothest NASCAR drivers on the track right now. But even with his smoothness, Code and Bagel are still able to catch up because of their draft. The bump draft is so strong. And they're slowly catching up. This is bad news for GameStopper. They are catching him quickly. They are getting his draft, nearly getting his draft. Let's see what happens here. Bagel is in his draft, hitting 207. I think that's the fastest speed we've seen all night. At least I have. And that means there's definitely passing opportunities for Bagel on GameStopper. Code is in the draft still. And here we go. We have our three-car draft line now, with under 15 laps to go. Pings is slowly dropping off, sadly. And here we go. Code is putting it up the inside, forcing Bagel wide. They're side by side. GameStopper is still in the lead. It looks like Code might drop back. No, he's side by side. They're side by side fighting for second place right now. It looks like Code is going to take the position. This is some really close racing. Bagel's going to slap back behind and get the back draft. And now Code is on GameStopper. A lot of pressure is being put on GameStopper here. And Bagel is going to have to try and make up his position. He's losing time very quickly because he's not getting the benefit of a bump draft. If he doesn't set a really good lap, he's going to lose out very quickly. And Code is drafting GameStopper very heavily, putting a lot of pressure on him. Nearly 10 laps to go. This is going to be a battle for the first spot, it looks. Fourth and fifth are kind of solidified because they do not have any drafts, it looks like. Yep, Pings and Coin are deserted alone. Code is putting a lot of pressure on GameStopper, but GameStopper is just able to defend really well here. It doesn't look like Code is exactly going for a pass here. Bagel is dropping back, losing a lot of speed and time from not having the benefit of the bump draft. He's going to have to do some crazy line to get past him. Can't open that inside line for anyone. You gotta shut that door and close that opportunity for passing. And we are 10 to go at Daytona. Daytona, current positions are first, GameStopper, second, Code, third, Big Fresh Bagel. I said his full name, we just call him by Bagel. Fourth is Pings, and fifth is Coin. We have a very close battle going on for first, second, and third. Anything can happen here with 10 laps to go at Daytona.
Code is putting a lot of pressure on GameStopper, but GameStopper is just able to hold more speed in these corners, even with Code having the draft, the bump draft from behind and in front. He's just not able to pass in the corners. He's gonna have to make a move somewhere. Bagel seems to be falling behind a good bit. The draft is not pulling him as much as he's like to. Code looked to be making a move there, but just couldn't find the space to do so. This is really close racing. Anything can happen here. GameStopper's still taking a lot of pressure from Code. Bagel still dropping back. This might just be a fight for first and second here. If Bagel is able to secure third, that's still very good for the points and the Constructors' Championship. They're still solidifying some pretty good points here. GameStopper wants this win. Holding off Code for a long time. It's either Code is not being aggressive because he wants to save it for the final laps, or GameStopper is being very defensive, or it's just faster. This is a very close race. Bagel has lost the draft completely, and that solidifies third place for Bagel unless something happens to any of those drivers. No drivers except for Code and GameStopper have a draft right now, so it's totally going to be about just lap speed for the fastest lap bonus point, which we'll probably see be given out to somebody who we won't suspect. Rounding out to lap 60. GameStopper and Code still battling it out. Code is holding on for dear life back there. Not able to make a move. Lap 60, we have 5 laps left. There is probably an extreme amount of pressure on GameStopper right now to hold that position. He's held this position for so long. Does not want to lose it this late in the race. Code is not making any moves. He's staying just right behind, which I guess if that's what you want, it works. He's in a really good spot for everything right now. For points for the first race, finishing second or anywhere in the top 10 for the first race is really, really helpful for points. Now Code seems to be looking around a little bit more, or just weaving, try and find a space to make a move. And he's trying to go on the inside, but GameStopper shuts the door. And Code had an opportunity there, but GameStopper knows NASCAR. He opened that door and shut it on him immediately. Heading on to lap 62. Just a moment here. And GameStopper still battling it out. And it looks like GameStopper and Code are catching up to the back marker of Coinsey. Huh. They're about to lap somebody who hasn't had a draft the entire race. That's how beneficial drafting is, especially on Daytona. Most of our drivers are on their own now. Bagel, Pings, and Coin are just racing to finish and set some good laps now. They've completely lost the draft, but they still have their positions basically solidified. The only battle and really fight right now is going on between GameStopper and Code, where things could get really messy or stay the way they are. We don't know. Code is trying to send it up the inside. GameStopper shuts the door very violently. That was really close to being a disaster. GameStopper is pushing really, really hard and defending as hard as possible. Code really doesn't have any opportunities to pass. He isn't taking as many. See, GameStopper will open up that inside line a little bit, and Code will try and sneak down, and then GameStopper shuts it immediately. And there's nothing Code can do about it. On the penultimate lap of the race now. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the last lap before the last lap. I'm not a genius, but correct me if I am wrong. Code is going to have to do something here. He's running out of track and time to make a move. He's obviously not been drafting him just to hold his position this entire time. So let's see what happens. The white flag is being waved. We are on the final lap of our Daytona race of the NASCAR Championship. Everything matters here. GameStopper's taking the inside line, defending pretty hard, opens up and shuts the door again on Code. That is so mean. Ugh. Love it. Code is sneaking to the left, but GameStopper is closing the door. Closing every opportunity Code has rounding the final corner, where Code is not going to be able to make a move. GameStopper is holding his line and racing really defensively, and here they come across the final stretch. Code isn't really gaining much. He pulls wide and across the line. Despite what the game says, that is incorrect timing by the game. Code did not finish first. We'll go over what happened there in a second once everybody has finished the race. The timings are displayed. I know you can't see them really well. We'll go to the timing screen in a second. Coin is far behind, nearly getting lapped by the leaders. Losing a draft on lap 14, did not help her at all. There we go, across the line. And that is the end of the first race in the NASCAR CXRL Championship. Let's go to the race results. The game, for whatever reason, decided that Code was 2 seconds ahead of GameStopper, which was simply incorrect. So the race stewards decided to revert the decision of the game time from what the game time displayed to a tenth of a second behind GameStopper, which is what it displayed to be. That's what everybody saw. So that is the positions. Our positions of the first race: GameStopper first with the best lap of 44.3. Code second place with the best lap of 44.4. Bagel third with the best lap of 44.3. Fourth is Pings with the best lap of 44.4. And the fifth, last but not least, Coinsy with the best lap of 44.5. Best lap bonus is 1 point and goes to Big Fresh Bagel. And you can see on the right is our current championship positions. A lot of racers didn't show up tonight, but that means the next one, there's a lot of more points up in the air because the grid is going to be reversed from the final results of this race. GameStopper will be starting in the back of the pack for the Daytona road course next week. Everybody will be. All the people who did not race today, Cable, King Cody, Royce, and Spools will be starting at the front to help them get an advantage because they missed this race and didn't get any points. So it's anybody's race next week. Thank you all for watching Race 1 of the CXRL NASCAR Championship. This is our first attempt at doing any type of commentary, and my voice is dying. I don't know if you can tell. If you like the video, please like it. If you're interested in joining our league, the links to their Discord, Twitch, Twitter will be in the description below. And we will see you all next week for another NASCAR race. Have a good day.